What's up, Alphas? It's your boy Zelmae, and today we are talking about Christianity, faith, former Christians, a Buzzfeed report on why they turned on the faith. And why am I doing this? Because simply a learning lesson. I'm curious. I want to know why people turn on Christianity. Christianity been great to me. Faith, all this good stuff. Read the Bible is usually a good thing, but why are people turning on Christianity? I'm curious. So we're going to look at these 26 reasons, as many as possible, as fast as possible. We don't want to take too much time, but we want to go through them, figure out what the problem is, and give our thoughts on it. Number one, there were a lot of reasons I left the church. The pastor had an affair. It was conveniently swept under the rug. Heaven forbid people actually acknowledge the issue, and there was a time the youth pastor told me, a then preteen, that I needed to put on a bra because I was distracting, and also when members of the church in charge of hiring a new practice utilized both sexist and racist practices and kept women and minorities from being hired. Pastor had an affair. The man of God is not perfect, but the man of God should lead by an example. Also, you pastors probably sexualizing children in a weird way. I get it. It's a lot I don't know about that part though. Like where they grow too early and distract all the little boys, and that's hard to judge. And doing sexist and racist, I have to know what that actually is to judge it. But listen, heaven forbid I say you're wrong. But pastor having an affair is a legit charge. The other two, heavy, but we can judge. I'm a female only child of a divorced mother. My parent had been divorced since I was 5 because my father cheated on my mother. Cheating is a lot around here. Around the time I was 15, our pastor was replaced because he had been convicted of his foster daughter. I was still heavily involved in the church choir, youth group, orchestra, and more. The new pastor gave a sermon about how kids just couldn't turn out right without a father in the house. He said the kid become a criminal, a drug addict, a worker, and somehow a less than good member of society. We didn't walk out that day, but we didn't go back either. Again, pastors doing the pastors so far is like the trend, right? And the new pastor about how you couldn't turn out right, is that his word? There's plenty of people that turned out right without a father. It's harder. Let's not lie. Let's not pretend like it's not hard. Having a father in your life, despite how it is. You know what I mean? It's kind of iffy, but having a father in your life works. It gives a sense of stability, at least. Even if the father might not be the best, unless it goes too far. Like if the father goes too far and does like outrageous things, it's terrible. But just saying that outright is kind of weird. But men do need fathers in their life. Women, little girls need fathers in their life. Fathers should be in their life. But saying you're gonna turn out to be a criminal is just like some weird, like that's some weird like grift or something. People was feeling that. My mom's Polish, so my brother and I are Catholic, and she and her whole side of our family have always exemplified the purest and most loving form of Christianity. Hey, we got some good ones. I went to church all my life until my mid-20s, listening to BS I didn't quite always agree with. Just sort of tuned out the iffy parts of the sermon. I got a job with a Catholic organization working under a very difficult priest who believed that we should be working full-time for free because we were doing God's work. He would always berate us for not working hard enough or putting in more hours. He said we should be glad to be filled with the light of God instead of materialistic, which was expecting a living way. He trying to create slave work. I don't know what work y'all was doing. Does he get paid for it? I guarantee he probably got paid for it. I'm just saying, he had to get paid for it. He was trying to hustle y'all. Like people giving donations for it and stuff. He was getting his end up. That sounds suspect. That was the one that I was raised Catholic and was taught that God would intervene if you prayed to him. My friend were having a difficult pregnancy, and I prayed every day that it would turn out okay. She miscarried. When I spoke to the priest, he said that God had chosen to terminate the pregnancy because my friend wasn't married and wasn't a Catholic. That was 6 years ago. I never returned to a church. Listen, that's the dumbest thing somebody could tell you. Listen, wasn't a Catholic. That's why your baby got. What about the women in church that go to church every Sunday was Catholic and got What? Are we gonna do that old school strategy of manipulation where we just say you sinned, therefore you lose? Because if that's the case, why all the politicians and all these other people, why it took 40 years of Diddy to live a better life than all of us or whoever to just go out and do that if that was the case, if he was going, because you weren't Catholic is all you had to be. Or if you, because you wasn't married, everybody was struggling to marry. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of silly. Why didn't the other babies do it? Because I always thought, why me? Why not me in situation? So that goes against the why not me. Like that means I shouldn't have to suffer because if I did everything right, but I do still. You know what I'm saying? First, I never wanted to go to church. It was something my mom made us do. Second, homophobia. The last time I went to church, it was a lovely and inspirational sermon until the pastor started disparaging gays for absolutely no reason. Even at my grandfather's funeral, the pastor there managed to blame gays for the state of the world. Just random unnecessary hate. Just Christianity, Bible is what it is. I'm saying, hey, life is life. Not upset either way. You don't go with them. You don't go with them. It goes both ways. I have a lot of reasons for not participating in organized religion, especially Christianity. One of the main turning points was when a co-worker who I was also friends with was having marital issues in a small town. Her husband was a piece of who everyone knew. He couldn't keep his junk in his pants and had several babies outside his marriage. And one of his baby mothers would even go to my friend's house and bang on the door, threatening to beat her up. My friend was a very religious and went to the pastor for guidance. And he put no blame on the husband at all. He get her and stand into the marriage and acted as if prayer would fix everything. I was disgusted. If he's that unhinged, probably should tell him to leave. But Trevor, it goes against the marriage of the Bible. There's a lot of the Bible y'all don't read. I'm gonna tell y'all that right now. We can get in it one day, but I got to get through 26 of these and we could discuss it. I don't want to just spend like the whole time just reading Bible verses on half the things you'll disagree with. But for man, like, you're supposed to cherish your wife, not cheat on her or beat her. You do realize adultery is a sin, right? That man is sinning. You can't just tell her to stay with the sinner. You see what I'm saying? Again, we're going to get into it. Adultery is a sin. He commits adultery over and over again. You can't tell her to stop. By the way, in the Bible, it also kind of tells you that if you do commit adultery, that almost the way you can leave outside of death. But again, we're not getting it. When I was younger, the pastor at the family church was allegedly involved in a scandal with a child, and no one would do anything because he was a man of God. I was instantly turned off by the organized religion. I had to find out that was the catalyst, and the more I grew up and did some social, the more I realized I could not believe in God that would protect a monster over a child. Well, God didn't protect him, man protected him. And we do a lot of horrible things. That's my pastor. You don't say nothing bad about him. Listen, wrong is wrong. I don't care. Like, that's silly. Again, protecting pastors or random people in power just to say I'm religious and feel better about myself is a problem that the church does have. I used to be a Protestant church in high school, and one time a guy who was in his 40s came up to me on a church dinner cruise and started talking about Hurricane Katrina was New Orleans' punishment for the gay rights movement and that bad things happen in places where the gay rights movement is popping. He then proceeded to ask me out and wanted to buy me a drink after I told him I was 16. Also, we had a pastor who was very against gay marriage and put a sign on church with the church's stance. How old was this guy? Oh, she said 40s. That's weird, talking to a 16-year-old. The problem I have mostly with the gay marriage thing is the argument for gays is that a lot of people that like heavily do it ends up being like heavy sinners and strange and mostly targets young women. They have a type. You ever notice they have a type? This is coming from a Christian, but we have to be even-handed on this. The gay rights thing, again, listen, if your church not for gay rights, it's not for you. It's life, you know what I'm saying? The Bible says to God is an abomination. You don't say nothing what I should do about it. I'm just chilling. I love you. Go about my business. When you and God let on, just like the liar and the alcoholic and all them got to deal with God let on. All I can do is love you, do my best for you. Now, it also, if they don't want you in the church, don't go to the place they want church. Listen, there's racist people. Don't want the black person in church. Listen, I ain't going to that church. it is. So, but I can see that point. Though. I can see why you don't want to be part of it. You don't like that kind of talk. It disturbs you. The amount of gossiping that went on in my church was astounding to me. Even as a child, I always felt I had to be perfect, or else I would give everyone else a reason to talk crap about. The irony of the judge lets we judge Christians being the judgiest people I've ever met and lost on them. But it made me evaluate if I actually believed or if I wanted to put it on the show so I could fit in. I found out the latter. That's something I do want to talk about. Putting on a show for church is what a lot of people do. It's a lot of insecurity, a lot of judging, a lot of I sin, but I sin less than you. Your sin worse than mine. The Bible said there's no sin worse than you because you both end up in hell. But so according to the Bible, it don't matter if you were. But at the same time, people like to throw stones. He who without sin cast the first stone. Man, a lot of people nowadays gonna throw that mud. They've been put on the image their whole life. They've been fronting and faking their whole life through it. That's how they get through life to make them feel better. They front and fake it, right? They go to church and have no charity. We ain't getting into that. My mother was raised in the Catholic church where her breaking point was they demanded 10% of her monthly income in order to attend. I'm not gonna say the rest of that, but first off, you can't demand 10% of her monthly income in order to attend. It has to be willingly given. Like, I don't know if y'all actually read your Bible. It's supposed to be, tithing is supposed to be willfully given. You can't force people to. That's the one thing the Bible said. People don't want to do something. You don't force them. That leads people away. You can't force them. You can't make somebody give 10%. When you do that, it kind of turns into the den of thieves that Jesus threw over the table. The reason they wanted to get rid of him because he threw over the table and called him a den of thieves, right? I was 9 years old and finally able to join a church scout group. In one meeting, they gathered everyone individually if they were a good person. Most children said yes. Once they asked, they told us that we were all wrong and the only good person was Jesus. I was only 9, but even I thought that was and put in a pretty cruel exercise to do to children. I left church at 13 and had been atheist ever since. There was a good person. That doesn't make sense. Why would they say that? There's plenty of good people in the Bible. What do you mean a good person? I mean, maybe a perfect person? Maybe a person without sin? But that don't make you not a good person. That's silly. That's stupid. I'm saying there's a lot of good people. How do you judge good people? Like, nobody's good but Jesus. That's strange. That is very odd. I get perfect. You're a perfect person. No, only God, Jesus is perfect. Okay. Are you a good person? Jesus, you're a horrible sinner. Like, yes, but that's why he died and I got saved, right? That's the whole purpose of this exercise. Why am I here? To become a good person later on. That's not how that works. You're supposed to get saved and be a good person. That's the whole role of it. If you tell me if there's no purpose in me not being a good person, I'm just here. Like, what's the purpose of me being on earth? If it's just to barely survive and not be good, then get to heaven and finally be good, doesn't make sense. It's supposed to be good all the time. Is that what people messed up? I was raised Catholic, but as I got older, I questioned the church and its teachings more and more. A lot of it started not to make sense when I discovered that I was non-binary and pansexual. The church responded by forcing conversion therapy on me rather than accepting me. A God that supposedly loved everybody not going to force that. So listen, there is nowhere in the Bible conversion therapy. It doesn't make sense. You didn't do it. It also probably would make this person who might have had a chance to might turn around, if you believe in that. It 100% deletes that. Again, Jesus said you do not force people. Not force them. You leave them alone. I left after being judged in youth group for my clothes, tighter shirt and ripped jeans, and being called out in front of the group. Was it? Hold up, wait. This one might have a little problem with. Let's dissect it. Was it come as you are in a youth group, or was it you supposed to dress up? Because if you're supposed to dress up, and it was an event that you dressed up as, and they let you know beforehand that you were supposed to be dressed up, and you said screw it, you just being antagonistic. Now, if they didn't tell you that, they said come as you are, and it was a random place that you just came off the street and you didn't know or something like that. So that one is kind of, I don't know too much information to judge if they right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's a come as you are event and they just taking youth off the street and inviting you in, you can't critique them in front of a group because it is come as you are. And then once we get you established and you understand the rules, like if your job tell you have to wear a red shirt and some khakis, you don't come in a blue shirt and some blue jeans. You're gonna get fired. Like you're gonna get called out. But like I said, I don't know if they announced that to him or what, but that's interesting. I'm a 60-year-old heterosexual African male and was increasingly bothered by the comments and jokes about gay people. I was devoted entirely member of the non-denominational mega church. I hate mega churches. My childhood was spent every Sunday in Southern Baptist, but I began to feel more and more uncomfortable with the rhetoric that was justifying why gay lifestyle were unacceptable. In short, I asked myself, is this what Jesus would say or do without anyone or any group? My answer was no. This caused me to have enough doubt to question a number of teachings and stories in the Bible that I was now able to look at with open eyes. What stories did you question? Too much lack of information. I wish I could ask. Like, what stories? I'm noticing a trend of like how people hate. I want to know what the pastor said to. Was it just biblical? Or did you just go in and just start making jokes about how gay people was getting diseases and but then that's like inhumane. But again, I don't know a lot of information. Again, if something not for you, not for you. Try not to judge teachings as well as the other person. I'm trying to be as fair as I can and not lean to my own understanding. But some stuff iffy and like antagonistic and selfish, and then some things are like legit. Like if your pastor obsessed with like dissing gay people out, I found out in my life that half of them I found that did that end up being one or undercover as one. So that was interesting. Like that's why I be confused about it a lot of times. So I'm kind of like, why are you obsessed? It is a sin. Nobody's saying it's not. So is drinking, smoking, adultery, fornication. There's no sin about others. Now, it is an abomination to God, but then, like I said, it's not to say nothing about me, but not justifying. Hope you find your place in life, but the church might not be for you. Just saying. I had fallen out with the Christian faith before then 9/11 happened. I thought I needed to reconnect. I saw the 700 Club blaming the sin on America in Vegas and thought it was crap. I went to the Calvary Chapel service down in Fort Lauderdale that Sunday after. Sermon was almost verbatim on the 700 Club. They were blaming people in Vegas and the loss of lives of thousands. No thank you. I realized religion was a hoax. The pastor of that church was later brought up on charge of money laundering and child porn. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of pastors with like children stuff, ain't it? And money laundering. It's like stealing money and like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, it's weird. We're gonna sum it up. We ain't gonna too long. I grew up in church with pastors on both sides of my family. It's overwhelming as a child to be told all things you can't do because it's a sin and you'll go to hell. Don't get me started on teaching about relationships. I wasn't allowed to date until I was 17, and once I turned 17, I was suddenly supposed to be okay and openly dating without feeling conviction. Religion played a huge part in me not dating or having significant relationship until my mid-20s. Even then, it still felt wrong. That is weird. I don't know where that came from. Why would your family tell you can't date till you're 17? I get the sex part. Why you couldn't date till you were 17? Is it because you think he's a child? I don't. So weird, right? It's nowhere in the Bible that says you can't date. Shouldn't you you're supposed to train dating? Like, bro, it was people started putting families together at 13. Like, my daughter's gonna date your son. That's like an old thing to happen. At 13, they used to organize it. So I don't know where that came from. At a very young age, I was forced to attend church. Felt like a cult. I was cognizant of the so-called church body I convened with. All I did was look and listen. Attending church continued until I was in my early teenage years. After all that I had experienced and been through, I had made a conscious decision that I want to participate in the same place with any of those people, which I will never do. I'm gonna be honest, some churches do feel like a cult. Usually around the pastor. I've been Again, you gotta accept the reason that people like Trevor, you've been hard on church. I gotta be harder on the church than these people, even if I think sometimes these people might be wrong, simply because the church has to do better. Because again, the church is losing a lot of people. That is the end times, and the people gonna be loving themselves and all that stuff. But you have to realize fault and see the weird things that happen in your life that might bring people not to God, right? You can't just do this, man. You know what I mean? It's funny. I was always a very open-minded kid growing up. My mom encouraged me to think for myself, so I was never a hardcore Catholic or Christian like most of my family. We also never went to a hardcore Catholic church either. I never cared for church much and I always thought religion should be something personal. But what made me never want to go back was when my church wanted everyone to sign a petition against same-sex marriage after the sermon. I think I was the only one who just stood there without signing. I watched as the whole congregation signed, made me angry and sad. They also had a sermon about abortion one day that was downright offensive. After those two events, I just couldn't go back. Fun fact, the Bible mentions, I think, is it in Ephesians? Where they mention they do an abortion. Kings did abortions all the time, so it was like kind of a common thing back then. But the Bible never specifically, outside of that, mentions how abortion is talked about, except for actually doing it. I think it was Ephesians. Y'all can be giving me right or wrong. Again, same-sex marriage, signing a petition that's weird. Again, they feel like forcing people to do something. And the only way it felt, and the reason I have a problem with that is because it also feels like when you put a petition in front of somebody, like you judging them if they don't sign it. Like even if people don't agree with you, you feel like you like, oh, I'm gonna be judged by all the people in the church if I don't sign this petition. It's odd, right? Is that normal? Am I wrong? Y'all can correct me on any of these comments if I'm wrong. You can argue with me all day. But I'm trying to just figure out like you putting it on paper. Like people can see you sign it. It's not like everybody come to the back if you want to sign this petition. It's like, no, sign the petition in front of everybody. And you just watch the whole congregation do it. Even if you don't want to, it's kind of like making you force, and that can leave a bad experience on somebody. It can make them like regret. Again, the church is not meant to make you regret stuff. It's meant to help you and encourage you. Again, it's weird. I didn't grow up in a church or a religious household. I was just told God exists, sin exists, and went to a few summer Bible schools. As an adult, I wanted to grow my faith. The more I started reading, researching, contemplating, I called bullcrap. It took 3 years of coming through Christianity, Black, Hebrew, Israelite, and belief in God. Had no attached to religious text before I settled on atheism. Honestly, I never felt more peace or free. Did you know that how you felt? I pray for you. My parents were raised Catholic, and so was I for the first 12-ish years of my life. I never bought into the rhetoric. Oh, this is Catholic, right? Not sure if I ever really believed in God, and I used to bring books to read at church, so I wasn't heartbroken when we left the church at the same time because my parents said they just needed a change. I didn't find out until a couple years later it was actually because of me. I'm adopted, and my parents and younger sister are white. Apparently, many of our congregation had trouble wrapping their head around the idea they would be preaching love and acceptance of everyone on Sunday, and on Monday they would ask my mom why she adopted a brown kid when she could have had a white one on her own. My parents obviously got tired of hypocrisy and abuse and swore out. So you gotta, ooh, that's a Southern church, Southern Catholic. Why you couldn't get her? I gotta reread that a little bit, my bad. So you Southern Catholic say why you didn't get your white kid. Man, shout out to your parents. Don't deal with that ever. I don't care who they are, I don't care. As I got older, a lot of things in the Bible just didn't add up. No mention of dinosaurs. No one could give an exact timeline of events in the Bible. The fact that the whole origins of the Bible itself are a matter of debate. Not to mention that Christianity was used to keep slaves in check. I definitely have been persecuted for my stance, but I will never go back to any religion. be fair, Christianity. We be honest. Christianity was used. That's interesting though, because all the white people are Christians too. So to say it was just used to keep people in check it's an interesting. Oh, I always thought about that, because it was technically, and it was the only thing they'll like let you read and teach you. So you was kind of like forced into it, which again I'm gonna get forced. But also they believed in it. So it was kind of not. So that's kind of half true, half wrong. But it's an interesting thought. I just think more on that. I have no ideas right now. I told the counselor at my Christian college that I was deeply depressed and suicidal. Her advice boiled down to pray more and trust in God. That's lazy. Just saying that's lazy. I told her that I've been trying to do that. It wasn't working. She told me that if I had really been trying, it would be working. So the problem was my lack of faith. This would suffice it to say not helping deal with my depression. That's horrible. That's lazy. Listen, that's a lazy counselor, a lazy pastor. Anybody tell you just pray and don't talk you through it and don't help you, that's lazy. That is very lazy. That is very unchristian. Lazy. Just pray about it and then go on about your business. You ain't thinking about it. Listen, shout out to my cousin. He the pastor. He'll call every day if you told him something like that. How you doing today? Try to make you laugh or something. Even if it don't work, he gonna attempt. That attempt make you feel better. Even if he don't know how to fix your problem, that attempt would probably make you feel better. Like, oh, this dude actually care. Not saying, hey, cuz, can't do nothing about your prayer about it. And I get it. Sometimes you can't do nothing about it. I'm in a situation I can't do nothing but pray about it. I don't know what to tell you. I try to give you as much advice as I can, but sometimes I can't say nothing. But I love you. Hopefully it'll help your situation. That's all some people can do. Sometimes you just on the road that you have to walk by yourself. This case, that person probably had the same thing, but you can at least talk to him, at least pray for him, at least say you thinking of him, all that stuff. You can at least do that. Again, lazy. I don't respect the laziness of this. You know what I'm saying? I did research on the history of the church and became very knowledgeable on all its past. Once I understood the roots of the faith, it became possible for me to logically subscribe with it. This is a lazy thing. I don't even know if it's true. This is like this gives no reason. We're trying to find out why you left. Did you just like randomly do research and became knowledgeable on all this past? Did you hate the Crusades? Crusades are a horrible thing. Did you understand before the Crusade? Did you go further than when the King James? Like that's what I'm saying. Like I don't like it. It's too much. It's too much. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's too much. I don't know. I grew up in the Baptist church, in a religious extended family. My belief in some higher power diminished because of multiple reasons. Multiple friends of mine died in the same year. And I just can't fathom how a higher power allows such grief and hurt. At a personal level, as well as across all of society, mass shootings, violence, homelessness, assault, and so many heinous acts get explained away by free will. But why let people suffer if an all-powerful being can make it better? Modern Christianity is so far from the teaching of the Bible. Look at the mega church, the past. That's true. The last part is true. Why bad things happen? It is free will. Free will sound like the laziest thing ever, right? But imagine if you was controlled, right? Because we say that, right? We say what God will let bad things happen to us. Okay. But if God wants us to do things, we have to do it, right? Because again, that lacks free will. Okay, like that's the payoff. When you write a story, do you make every story perfect where everybody have a good ending? Do you? We are in the image of God, right? Do you write every story to make it like every person do good? Every person in your life gonna be great? Why die? Well, humans chose the fruit of good and evil. You know good and evil? The Bible says you will die if that happens. You die? That's part of it. Get sick. And most things are human made. Most illnesses is something that humans created. They did something they weren't supposed to do. Humans mash all that. Mass shooting, violence, homelessness, assault, heinous act, all committed by humans. We do it. So it is free will technique. It kind of feels lazy, so I get what they're saying. But who else does it? We do it. Like listen, if we all helped each other, guess what? if we all earnestly helped each other and all the smart people got together, found out to cure everything, guess what? Everything would be perfect. We wouldn't need anything else. But guess what? We don't. We choose not to. Our free will makes us bad people sometimes. And it's kind of lazy, and I get what he's saying though. But it makes sense in my head. Is it like an author and a writer? If I was like a creator of something, and I want to say it can do whatever it wants. Like, just imagine if I made a robot. Because in my mind, I thought about this a long time. If I made a robot, right, and I just wanted to have autonomy and not just do what I said and just be like, oh, I want to see what it can do. If I don't just tell it and program it to do everything. And it just start doing it, and it just do some crazy shit. Either I can turn it down or make other robots and just do exactly what I say, or if I don't, then you don't have free will, and it kind of feel like you're forced. And my whole thing, this whole episode is don't force. So I'm kind of conflicted on that, but I get what you're saying. I was raised in church, and the older I get, the more it seems like how religion is used just to control the less fortunate. That is absolutely true. You don't believe me? Look at Martin Luther when when the Catholic Church was telling people that if you give them half all your earnings, you'll go to heaven. Religion is used that way. Remember, religion and Christianity is not really in the Bible. The only thing in the Bible is Judaism. Judaism, again, Jesus called them a den of thieves. It was kind of interesting thought. And finally, I would say that actually reading the Bible for myself without someone else's interpretation led me out of Christianity. Once I read it fully, I saw humans created God in their image depending on their circumstance and state of mind. While Christians will believe their God is going to save us from ourselves, the work of being stewards of the earth and each other falls on us. We must evolve into a better human. In a way, I agree with that. Humans created God in their image, depending on circumstance and state of mind. That is absolutely correct when you think about it. You're like, Trev, how dare you? How dare you say we created God? You do. Most of us do. We think God is going to just help us when we do wrong. Like, we can do stupid things, right? And just conveniently pray. And that God is going to come and save us from what we do something stupid. I go out there and shoot somebody. I can't pray that God's going to keep me out of jail. Right? That's my sin. Because in my version, this person might say God not real, but in my version, God's real. But I'm saying humans created the version of God they want. I'm racist and we are better people because God wanted it. Nowhere in the Bible does God say a specific group is better than the other group. There's nowhere in the Bible that says, but white nationalists and racist groups believe that. You see what I'm saying? I want to know y'all thoughts. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all of that. I do want to hear your thoughts on some of these. Do you agree? Do you want to argue? Do you want to fight? Do you think some of these are valid? How can we improve? How can we get more people in the church? While not giving up what the church is. Not, as the last one said, not creating our own God to do whatever we want to accept. Like, oh, we're going to create a church that accepts these people and then become a mega church we can make money off of. How do we make a real church? Y'all let me know, hit that comment section, all that. This is Zell's Theory. Peace.